Welcome to the Third Win channel. Today we're doing Season 2 episodes tier list of Season 2 of Drake and Josh. So this has been a very hard episode to make, and I'll explain why in a second. But first, I just want to mention that Episode 1 or Season 1 is already out, so you can check that out right now before this one if you'd like. Also, we make these for Zoe 101 and iCarly. Those are done. We've made them for all the seasons, so check that out if you're interested. But let's get into it. We're doing a tier list, kind of, and let me explain why. So here's our tiers: a favorite, iconic, or great, good, okay, or could skip. But we ran into a problem quite quickly here. I think all the episodes go in the top two tiers. I mean, it's very hard because I think one of my favorite shows ever is Drake and Josh, and I think there's so much consistency, and there's every episode is funny. So instead of doing a tier list, which will be boring for you guys because you're literally just looking at two tiers worth of material, I decided it would be more engaging for you guys if I ranked the episodes. But I just wanted to let you guys know that this is very difficult and it's gonna be cleanly personal, and the margins between these episodes aren't that big. So I mean, I'm gonna be curious to see in the comments what your favorite episodes are. But I've made a little template here where I could comfortably fit like 12, and then we got our brown tiers down here, 13, 14. But I want to stress that every episode in this season is good, and I'd watch every episode. So let's get into it with our number 14 pick, which is Little Diva. So I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I think the reason I have it in number 14 is that there is no moral of the story. There's a bit of a bad ending because literally this poor little celebrity girl, Ashley Blake, I believe she's called, is left literally in a trash can, sedated. And I mean, a lot of the events are not so believable in this episode. I do love Ashley Blake's relationship with Megan. It fits together quite well. I like the whole trying to get onto the celebrity party guest list thing, and Josh gets assigned to her. But there's a few things that I really don't like about this episode. One, what's her name? Helen is replaced by a different actress, which is just a little off-putting. So that's one thing that makes it a little worse. Another thing is the people in the cinema are supposed to believe that she's actually not passed out. Like, she doesn't talk, her head is down. I know it's for comedic purpose, but it does bother me a little bit. It's a little too unbelievable. And otherwise, I don't know. I don't have too much to say. But those few things really drag this episode down for me. Along with it not really having a moral. It's fine to put the girl in the dumpster while you go to the party. Yeah, fine, whatever. But yeah, number 14, not a bad one. It's still a very entertaining episode. And let's move on. Yeah, I'll put it down there in the brown tiers. Let's move on to number 13. Number 13, we got Driver's License, and this one I liked, but the ending disappointed me a little bit. Like, Josh just gets punished for being good in this episode. Like, yes, he gets a ticket, but Drake just, what's the use? Abuses him basically. Keeps that ticket over his head, and I think he pays for the ticket as well. But yeah, he just abuses Josh, and in the end, he just gets another 2 tickets for basically just being very good to Drake. So I didn't really like that ending, but otherwise, it's an entertaining episode about getting a driver's license. I love the part where they're actually getting the driver's license, and Josh gets assigned the one who is a little less I don't know how you put it, attractive. But yeah, solid episode. I don't know. Again, what's the moral here? What, you can just abuse someone if you have something over them? I don't know. It's funny though. Like I said, I love all the episodes. But yeah, brown tier number 13. Next we got at number 12, our first actually colorful one. Number 12, Smart Girl. So Smart Girl, I really like the concept of I like the game show part where they're kind of like he's walkie talking Drake all the answers, and Josh is actually the smart one so that Drake can get with his smart girl. The concept has been done before. I think it's nice, but it lacks kind of like Drake getting punished for his actions. He just admits to doing something wrong and she's fine with it. I don't know. Usually this kind of thing ends with him lying, but instead it ends with him kissing this girl and getting together with her. So, um, yeah, it's all right. I think it's that we have more entertaining episodes in this season. I do like the ending where Drake and Josh kind of apologize to each other, and then um, the subplot in this episode is that Josh is trying to get back at Megan, like pranking her, which is pretty impossible. But Drake tries to help her, but then while they're talking about how to prank Megan back, they then realize that they're stuck to their chairs, which is brilliant. But yeah, this episode number 12. Let's move on to number 11, which is Pool Shark. I personally remember these are just my opinions. Which episodes I like the most, which ones, whatever. I remember this one quite fondly when I rewatched the series, and I quite like this episode. But when I was thinking to myself, like, I like this episode, but what else is there to it other than don't hustle? And the ending is funny with Josh tricking Drake. Um, it's just entertaining. I guess there's not so much more to it. But yeah, it basically just involves Josh being very good at pool and Drake exploiting him, and then Josh getting him back at the end, which I think is nifty and fun. But yeah, number 11, it's a very good episode, and let's move on to number 10. We're in our top 10 now. So, guitar. I was originally thinking I'd put this one higher, being a guitar player myself, and I quite like the idea of the guitar, and then Josh. Drake basically exploits a bunch of people again to get this great guitar and tickets to his favorite band, I believe. And then while Drake's not home, Josh accidentally makes the guitar explode by putting it in the wrong amp, I think, or a faulty amp, which is unfortunate. But Josh goes through great lengths and his pocket money to get him a new guitar, get it signed again. The guitar was signed when he won it. And I think that's heartfelt. Drake does find out, but he thinks it's great that Josh has done all these things for him. And at the end of the episode, Josh in Josh fashion, accidentally breaks the guitar player's hand in the band when getting it autographed. So Drake replaces him, and with the money earned from the gig, he pays back Josh. And I think that's a great ending. It's one of the first kind of real compromise and like brotherly moments we saw in the series. I think the ones in season one were notable as well, but here you really start to see them like working together as brothers and kind of bonding. So yeah, I think this episode's great. I've been talking too long about it. It's about a 10. I did enjoy it a lot. Number 9, Mean Teacher. So this is one that I initially thought I would put lower, but thinking about it, there's just a lot of interesting things that are happening here. The dynamic between Drake and Mrs. Hafer, the whole situation where literally Miss Hafer kind of makes him date his daughter, which he initially likes, but then he finds out about her laugh, which I admit is also very annoying, which makes this episode a little bit harder to watch. But what else? What really did it for me in this episode is like the last, I don't know, 10 minutes of this episode with the lucky shirt, and where everything is actually going great with his lucky shirt, and at the end of the episode, Megan, being who Megan is, gets I mean, she donates the shirt to charity, which obviously isn't a bad thing, but they go crazy, like, what? We finally figured out the key to life. It's this shirt, and then Audrey says, "Oh, Megan said you didn't want the shirt anymore." It's hilarious, and the credit scene, the post credit scene, I think it's called. We find out that a hobo wins the lottery because he gets this shirt. It's just really funny. It's great writing. But yeah, this episode's pretty fun. Number 9. Let's move on to number 8. Drew and Jerry. I think that if I was making a tier list, I'd put this in iconic, just because of the whole Drew and Jerry meme. But it's a great episode. I prefer like the very like last 10 minutes of it. I think the stuff in between where they're like getting these guys and showing them off is all right. But I like the end where it kind of culminates and Drew and Jerry end up getting their own TV show, and I think it's hilarious that the kind of self-conscious joke this show makes, like, who would watch these two brothers? What a dumb idea. And then at the very end, when Drake and Josh are actually watching it on TV, they're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And then I mean, Drake says, "Oh, this Drew character is really cool," and then Josh says, "Oh yeah, it's a great show. I wish they'd make this Jerry character less of a dork." And then uh, Drake looks at him, and Josh realizes what he's just said. I don't know. I think that's really funny. In terms of the episode, it's all right. I think it could have been a little bit better executed in terms of like what's going on in between, but it's a notable episode. I couldn't put it any lower than number 8. Moving on, at number 7, we have the Gary Grill. This episode is one that for some reason, it's like impaled into my memory. I remember this one. every time with Gary Coleman himself and these illegal grills. I mean, there isn't much of a. I mean, the story here is, I guess, be careful who you trust. But I think this episode is just really entertaining, and I think this is also the one with where Drake gets a little robot, por favor, and they get all the stuff in their room, which they get taken away. I don't know. It's just a really entertaining episode. I don't really have a reason for liking it so much. I just remember it fondly, and it's a fun episode. And oh yeah, and the people who sell them the grills are called Gary and Guy, I think, or was this? No, I can't remember, but Guy and something else. Just a lot of funny moments. Entertaining episode. Number 7. This is a personal list, okay? I sometimes I don't have to have a reason. But number 6 is Honors Council. This is Drake and Josh variant of those. Like many series have the whole episode where you're just in a court case, or like there are movies where the whole movie's in a court case. But this in this case, it's Drake and Josh's variant of it. I think we get like 12 minutes straight of them just in court, and in the school court, talking about having a court case. And I think it's what's really compelling about this episode. I did enjoy the court case. It's very funny when, um, we'll get to that in a second. But I think what's really important about this episode is Drake and his brother. His brother is the only one who believes him, and Drake is against everyone else. Uh, his parents don't believe him. His teacher don't believe him. I don't think his students, his classmates believe him. So it's really these two brothers against the rest, and all odds stacked against them. I think that's what makes this episode so heartfelt and great. But I also love. I mean, Mindy gets introduced in this episode, and she's really not very likable in this episode, especially when she has her outbursts at the end. But I love the different kind of evidence they show and Drake's fan club. But when Mindy starts showing Drake's drawings, it's so funny, and you're thinking like, okay, how does he get redeemed from this? But Josh does a great job. I think it's an entertaining court case, and I like this episode for the reasons I stated, the whole brothers versus the world. So it's great. And we get introduced to Mindy as well. Next, number 5, we have the Blues Brothers. And why do I like this episode? I think it's a fun callback to the Blues Brothers, but also what really makes this episode great is the ending. As I mean, it is a very funny episode also because if you don't remember, this is the one where Josh, uh, he gets a chance to go on TV, and basically he has stage fright, which is accentuated because before going on TV, Megan tells him about. There's about a 2 minute segment where Megan tells him about all the things that could happen when he's on TV, and there's so much pressure, and you could start doing the Twitch, and then of course Josh starts doing the Twitch. The next days he buries himself at home. He's too embarrassed to go outside because he's basically become an internet meme. When people see him on the streets, like, oh, can you do the Twitch? Or like, there's a guy that comes up to him, oh, you're the Twitch guy from the news. Oh, it's my dad's birthday. Could you do the Twitch for him? I think I thought that was really funny. But what's so great is the ending where, you know, well, I guess we have to get into the subplot where Drake is trying to win the talent show, and with the title song, what's it called? I Found a Way. But it gets stealed by this a cappella group, so he has to make something up on the spot. So two birds with one stone. Drake wants to win the talent show, and Josh needs to get rid of his stage fright, and we get this epic performance from Drake and Josh. Soul, what's the song called? Soul something? Soul Man? I'm a soul man. I think that's how it goes. But just really great. I love this moment at the end where they kind of, as brothers, win this competition, and it just really shows their strength. Even Megan is singing along, so I think it's a beautiful moment. I think that this episode deserves number 5, and the meme with the weather twitching stuff is funny too. Number 4, we have a movie job. This is the first time I think we see the premiere ever. So that's an iconic moment. We see them both work at the premiere. We see Helen loving Drake. We get basically the whole backstory of the premiere, and we see Drake taking the blame for something Josh did because he knew that Josh loved the job so much. I think that's a beautiful moment. I love all the, well, you could say banter, but I love all the funny jokes between Helen and Drake, Josh and Helen, between Drake and Josh. I think this episode has some of the best humor in the show. Just a lot of moments in between. It didn't have to have an important plot, just all those funny moments. What else can I say? I don't know. I really like the premiere as a setting, and I think this is a perfect way to introduce it. And also the golden balls that Josh hid in the popcorn was like his magical idea. I thought that was a really funny scene as well. But moving on, we'll put that at number four, and we're going into our top three now. So, um, let's get into our number three pick, which will be the bet. The bet I think is like as classic as a Drake and Josh episode gets, and basically Drake is addicted to sugary stuff, and Josh is addicted to video games, and because of these addictions, they forget to pick up Megan from her, I think it was an oboe practice probably. And we get the iconic scene where she comes to the door and she's soaking and it's raining outside. And basically, they agree to stop, or they agree to see who can go the longest without caving into their addictions by signing this contract with Megan, which I think is very funny that Megan is their lawyer or whatever. But long story short, they keep getting each other, trying to get each other to cave. In the end, they cave at the same time, and the loser has to dye their hair pink. And I mean, they both lost because they caved at the same time because of it said in the contract. But what's even funnier is that Walter had bet that Drake would lose, and Audrey had bet that Josh would lose, I think. So they also had, because they ended in a tie, they also had to dye their hair pink. So we see them walking around with pink hair, all other than Megan. But when they've all left the house, Drake comes back in for a second, and he reveals that the pink hair is just a wig, which I think is a hilarious and super in character. And I think this just is a classic episode, very well paced, just perfect classic, standard, amazing. So yeah, that's not my number three, and we got two episodes left, and our number two will be football. I think I don't really have a great reason for loving this episode so much. I just love how Josh takes a like step towards trying to be cooler, trying to up his social standing at school, because Drake suggests it, and he gets on the football team, but as the equipment manager, and Drake says, "Hey, that's still not cool." He's making brownies for the team, and as a result of making these brownies, because he made it at home, Megan managed to put some soil in the brownies, so they all get sick, and a bunch of reserves have to play, and that means that Josh also had to play, but they get in the nick of time they get the school janitor to play instead, who gets injured, and Josh has to go in, and Josh scores the winning touchdown. I don't know, I know this episode doesn't make too much sense and it doesn't teach you too much, but I just love this episode. I think it's a very entertaining one. Um, and we get to see a lot of Josh and him grow as a character. So, yeah, this is my number two. And my number one, for those of you who are diehards, probably already know. But I'm a big fan of Drake and Josh, and that's why number one fan is one of my favorite episodes ever. This one just kind of sticks in my memory, and it has there's a lot of reasons why I like this episode. One, we get an amazing song from Drake Bell. I think it's called Down We Fall. Well, I'll get to that at the end. Basically, Megan has all her campers or Girl Scouts over, or is it called Girl Scouts? I'm not sure, but she has all the Girl Scouts over at her house, and one of the Girl Scouts is a huge fan of Drake Bell, and he kind of acknowledges it, but it gets on his nerve, and he kind of bursts out at her, and he has an important gig, and by the end of the episode, he realizes that he's made a mistake, and he should really be pleasing his biggest fan rather than going out to this mid-sized gig. So he comes home and plays a song just for her, which is, I think, one of the greatest moments on the show. I think that this episode is perfect. I really like it, and I suggest everyone go watch it. But yeah, that's my number one. This was very hard to do, but here are my 1 through 14. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd like to hear your own opinions. I don't know how it'll be for season 3, but that's coming soon. I'm gonna have to go through all the episodes and see if I can make a tier list, or if it's the same case where I'd put them all in the 2 upper tiers. But I love this show so much. I think this is my favorite show of the Dan Schneider universe, and that's why it's so difficult to make these, because I can't say the one is much worse than the other. and I love all the episodes. And yeah, but this is how I'd put 1 through 14. I've been talking for too long. If you like this sort of content, subscribe for season 3 or episode 3 of this series, and check out our other Nickelodeon content. We make a lot of it on this channel, as well as reviewing the new iCarly revival series, so you can check that out too. And otherwise, this has been the Third Win channel, and I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Sorry for having you listen to me talk for so long, but I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have too, and I'll see you guys soon.